Ṛg-vedoham Yajur-veda, Sama-vedoham atma-bhu, Atharvanascha mantroham tata Āṅgiraso varaha. I am the Ṛg-veda, the Yajur-veda, and the Sama-veda, all of which originate from me, the Atharvana full of sacred mantras, and similarly I am the distinguished Āṅgiras. Itihāsas Purāṇani kalpoham kalpavanaham Nārāśaṁsī ca Gāthāham Vidyopanishadosmyaham. I am the Itihāsas and the Purāṇas. I am the Kalpa, the science of rituals, and the performer of rituals. I am the Nārāśaṁsī, the hymn singing the glory of Rudra. I am the Gāthā, praise of the Vedic sacrifices. I am meditation and the secret wisdom, Advaita. Shloka sutrani chaivaham anuvakyam nameva cha Vakyanani paravidya ishtang hutamata hutihi. I am the Vedic verses, the aphorisms of the sages, the sub-commentaries, and I am the commentaries. Similarly, I am the sciences, the Vedic sacrifices, the oblations, and the substances offered. Namaste. So, Shiva is saying that he is the Vedas. He is the scriptures. People say, how can I see God? Okay, you really want to see God? Study the scriptures. Read the scriptures, chant the scriptures, and practice the scriptures. Because they are coming from Shiva. Now, when Shiva says, I am the Vedas, obviously Shiva is not a book, but he is the speaker of the Vedas. His speech then was recorded, noted down by the great sages, including the Āṅgiras mentioned in 16. Who are the Āṅgiras? They're the sons of the sage Āṅgira. How did that come about? It's described in Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th canto. Ratitara had no sons, and therefore he requested the great sage Āṅgira to beget sons for him in his wife. Because of this request, Āṅgira begat sons in the womb of Ratitara's wife, and all these sons were born with Brahminical prowess. In other words, full mystical powers, deep knowledge, and perfect self-realization. Having been born from the womb of Ratitara's wife, all these sons were known as the dynasty of Ratitara. But because they were born from the semen of Āṅgira, they were also known as the dynasty of Āṅgira, the Āṅgiras. So this was a practice in ancient times when people were more pure and they could do something like this or beget sons in another man's wife without becoming attached, without becoming fallen. And now in Kali Yuga, it's not possible. It would just lead to all kinds of difficulties. You can only imagine what a soap opera that would be. So the identity of Shiva with the Vedas is not to say that they are one and the same thing, because obviously they're not. The beginning stage of spiritual life, one thinks that, oh, the Vedas are different from Shiva because, he's a god and they're books, right? In the intermediate stages, one thinks, oh, well, Shiva is the speaker of the Vedas, and therefore he is present in the Vedas by his speech. And therefore one should follow his instructions. But in the ultimate stage of realization, one sees that everything is Shiva. Not only the Vedas, but everything else too. See, this is called superimposition, adhyasa. Adhyasa means there's a substrate, which is the reality, and then there is a symbol which is superimposed on it. And although they are not identical, the symbol is like a pointer. If you know computer science and programming, the symbol is a pointer to the reality. So the Vedas point to Shiva, and if you follow their instructions, you can realize Shiva. So in that sense, the Vedas and other Vedic scriptures are Shiva. Just like in some sense, the sons of Ratitara's wife are called the Āṅgiras. So this is superimposition. This is why Shiva is bringing this up in the context of discussing the Vedic literatures. And the sacrifices, because the four Vedas, the basic texts, are a litany meant to be recited during the sacrifice. Then there are attachments or appendixes to those Vedas, which are the Brahmanas, giving the instructions to the priests on how to perform the sacrifice, and the Aranyakas, giving the secret teachings embedded in the mantras of the Vedas, which are often quite deep and sophisticated. And then finally, the Upanishads that give the secret teaching of Advaita, which is the actual aim of the Vedas. Now, we did a video some time ago on the structure of the Vedic literatures that brings this all out. So I'm not going to go into it in detail here. But the point is that all the rituals and practices given in the Vedas are meant for the realization of non-duality. This is their ultimate aim. But because people are not at all on that platform today, the Vedas actually go down and meet them where they are at, which is attached to duality. In duality, one performs religious rituals for some material end. Wealth, power, fame, beauty, knowledge, renunciation, ascension to heaven, and so on like that. These are all material things, but in the state of dualistic consciousness, one becomes attached to them. So the Vedas begin by offering these rituals. Here, you do these rituals and you get the results. That's called karma, cause and effect. Therefore, following the Vedic rituals and so on is called karma yoga, because it is a way of linking with the Supreme, which is yoga, through performance of karma, activities based on cause and effect. Now, because the karma yoga entails extensive hearing of the glories of the Supreme in many different forms, this eventually leads to bhakti. Bhakti means love of God. And my Adi Guru always used to say, love is developed by hearing, shravana. One hears the glories of the beloved, and by this hearing, then becomes favorably attached to him. This is bhakti, and it's developed by hearing extensively the recitation of the glories of the beloved. That's why the sage recommended to Rama that he chant and hear the Shiva Sahasranama, because these names all amplify and specify the glories of Lord Shiva. So if one recites, hears, and studies these 1,000 names, then one becomes realized through bhakti. Because by bhakti, one develops a relationship with Shiva, and by that relationship, Shiva becomes manifest to him, even in daily, ordinary life. This is the most amazing thing. It's a miracle, and everyone should experience it. So, of course, we also have a series on Shiva Sahasranama, which unfortunately is not complete, but at least we give a start. And in recent times, we issued a video, which was a recitation of the 1,000 names, which you should hear. And in that video, there is a link to download the MP3, which you can put on your phone or whatever and listen to it, while you're commuting to work or any other time where you're just sitting around doing nothing, or even as a background to your activities of everyday life. That's not offensive. That's good, in fact. So he is not only the original Vedas, he is also the aphorisms, the sutras that summarize the Vedas, the commentaries and the sub-commentaries, the commentaries on the commentaries, which is a very ancient Vedic practice. So how is it that even though these commentaries are written by human beings, they represent Shiva? Well, the idea of the commentaries is to explain the original literature, which is often very esoteric, difficult to understand, and deep, beyond our current level of comprehension. So the commentaries break it down so that we can understand it. But now in Kali Yuga, people have become so degraded, we need a commentary on the commentary to understand the original intent of the scripture. These commentaries are inspired by Shiva. I know how it is because I'm involved in the same process. You could look at these videos as a commentary on the Shiva Gita. And why do we need a commentary? Because in Kali Yuga, people don't understand often even the simplest things about God consciousness. So a commentary is necessary to bring them into that understanding, into that view. It's very, very hard for me sometimes to distinguish between what is blatantly obvious simply by reading the text and what is difficult to understand, because I've been involved with it for so long. But this is why we ask for comments on the videos so we can understand the level of people watching these videos. And as it turns out, in my experience, the level is very low. Very few people can even make an intelligent comment on any of this. So what does that mean? They don't understand. They need ABCs. We're working on the XYZs in our daily sadhana. But there are many people who are still stuck on the ABCs. So we start from the ABCs and hope that it's not too repetitious for the people who do have some background, who do have some understanding, and who know the Vedic sciences, who have read the Vedic literatures and their commentaries, and practice them to gain the realization that is the end of all suffering. Aum Tat Sat. Aum Shakti Aum. Aum Namah Shivaya.